broadcasting now on Facebook too. Okay. So we're back for Mental Health Wednesday. We have some special guests this afternoon to talk about our topic of avoiding stress and anxiety. We are starting half an hour earlier than usual because we have conferences all week starting at 1 o'clock. So that's why we decided, parents and students, to start half an hour earlier. But I'll let them introduce themselves one at a time. What's your name? What grade are you in? What school do you go? And then actually your favorite experience thus far from middle school.
Hi, my name is Angel Zamora. I'm a junior at Alpha India Vitia, and and I think my favorite memory from middle school has been meeting a lot of teachers that I have things in common with.
Hello, my name is Adrian Zamora. My name is Adrian Zamora. I'm in eighth grade and I go to Alpha Blanca Alvarado. My favorite experience from middle school right now has to be meeting new people. At first, I was shy, didn't know who to talk to, but once you get to know the people, it's really fun.
Cool. So yeah, we have the pleasure of having both of these brothers that attended or have attended Blanca Alvarado. They've been a part of a lot of different things within the fold of Alpha as a whole. So we're really happy to have you guys here. They also were contributors to the soccer team in different spaces for me as a coach over the years, and continually involving themselves in that regard at their schools respectively as well. So we really appreciate you guys coming, especially in the conversation of mental health as a high schooler and middle schooler and as brothers. So we are going to talk about avoiding stress and anxiety. Miss Lar, do you want to kind of briefly describe the video that you made for that?
Yeah, absolutely. I really wanted to touch on stress and anxiety just because it is MAP testing week. There are parent teacher conferences. And I think both of those things can bring up stress and anxiety in people, whether they are afraid of how they're going to test, if they are nervous about what their parents are going to say in front of their teachers, or what their teachers are going to say in front of their parents. I think they can be in very anxiety producing spaces. And so avoidance is one way to deal with stress and anxiety. You could just not do it. You just not go to something. You could not go to school if you wanted to. But unfortunately, when you use avoidance to deal with stress and anxiety, it only makes things worse. It's like if I really don't want to do my math homework, and then now the next day I have 2 assignments, and then I put that off, and now it's 3. And I just feel like I really want to tell students that stress and anxiety, they're okay to feel. You just have to work through it instead of just completely avoiding it, because discomfort's going to happen. And so I'd love to ask our students who are joining us, Angel and Adrian, I want to know how you two act when you're stressed and anxious. How do you feel? Do you avoid people? Do you snap at people? Do you hide under your covers and play video games all day? What do you do when you're stressed and anxious?
So something that I do personally, since I'm a junior in high school, um, I feel like when I have a lot of work to do, and it's like they're all due in the same time, I think I just plan out what to do. So like I also try to like create like breaks during those times too, because it's also like stress just like staring at a screen for so
Yeah.
many like a lot of hours every day. And I like, and since I'm taking a bunch of hard classes that would help me for college, I think that's even more stressful because it's I'm just putting so much work on my back, so it's like stressing me out. And something that like I also do is not overthink about it. So like if I feel overwhelmed with something and like starting to get stressed, I just take a little break, watch something that I know it's like gonna get my mind off of things,
Mhm.
and go back into my work.
Something I do is, since it's map testing this week and conferences, some things I usually do are like my brother does, plan breaks, because sometimes it can be stressful doing everything at once. So if you take breaks, it gives you a little opportunity to get yourself together, take deep breaths, and in map testing, it gives you your scores right away. So that could even put out more stress because they give you goals to make. And you know, like, oh, if I don't do this, I might not be able to pass it. So you get stressed a lot. So I just take deep breaths.
Yeah, Mr. S, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate some of the most basic things that you guys do. And I heard a lot in both statements, but you know, giving yourself a break is probably the biggest deal because sometimes, like you're talking about, Angel, we burden ourselves. It's just heaping stuff on our like if you think about it as a backpack and you're just throwing stuff in continually, it gets heavier, it's heavier, it weighs you down. Sometimes you can't stand up. Um, you're wondering why you're even carrying this backpack with all the stuff in it. So it's okay to like give yourselves a break, like literally take that backpack off, put it aside, do some other stuff, and come back to it and take care of it. Adrian, you talk about taking a deep breath. The most basic thing. Sometimes we just like feel like we're suffocated, and we gotta get some fresh air. Whether it's just like stopping, thinking about stuff, and just breathing. You know, focusing on your breathing patterns in particular, or even if it literally means like you're setting going outside just for a walk or whatever, or just like sitting outside, you know, set up a chair, whatnot, maybe read or whatever you got to do to kind of set yourself up to take your mind away and be able to reset, rejuvenate yourself, and then get back at it. So I really appreciate those things.
Mm-hmm. I think you know what Adrian and Angel bring up is this idea of taking a break in front of you. It is so easy to get overwhelmed. If you know you have 30-40 minutes of map testing ahead of you, it's just seeing this really big mountain of work in front of you might make people say, I don't even want to do it. And so it's easier to start with one step and then take breaks. Sometimes that mountain will look like it's way easier to accomplish and go over if you can take breaks at a time. I don't know if either of you have ever felt so overwhelmed looking at a pile of something that you're just like, where do I even start? Maybe I don't even want to start. Maybe I'm going to take a nap. I see Angel kind of shaking his head. Do you want to share something to that?
Yeah, like when I log into my Google Classroom, since like these Wednesdays, it's when a lot of teachers just leave us a lot of work to do, and I log into my Google Classroom and I have like two assignments from each class to do, and like I see that they're all due today. So and like I just think, oh my gosh, when do I start? Like what do I start with? Or how am I gonna complete this by the end of today? I have other stuff to do, so how am I gonna like plan out like my day? And like it's just stressful to like see a bunch of work in front of you and knowing that it's like you can get the help that you need because like teachers are in meetings, so they have to take care of their stuff because they're stressing about planning for to try to help us as well. So I think that's stressful.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
appreciate that. You know, reaching out for support. It's okay. I mean, we've talked about in other discussions between me and Miss Lar, but reaching out for help and support is a very big thing. And again, this is just my opinion of putting it out there. But if they're not willing to help out and they're not going to be available during school hours, I don't know if they're exactly the best teacher to be providing opportunity for growth and education. Your teachers are there to be available to support you in any way possible, not only academically, but also on a personal level too. In some cases, and obviously you have a support team as well in different positions and roles at the school. Like obviously we have a counselor at Alpha Blanco Alvarado and Miss Lar, and then we have counselors and other support teams at the high school at Cindy too. So I really appreciate you acknowledging that you don't have to tackle it by yourself. It's a team effort, especially when it comes to education, and even as adults when we're on our own, it's okay to ask for help sometimes and not get caught up in and avoid that stress and anxiety.
Mm-hmm. I think, you know, something I want to ask Adrian, because in middle school, sometimes when you ask your friends for help, sometimes in middle school you hear, get over it. Just get over it. Get over it. Whatever you're feeling, get over it. So if you're feeling stressed for whatever reason, or if you're anxious about, I don't know, it doesn't have to be school or your parents, it could be your friends. If you're feeling stressed and anxious and someone says, get over it, what are some of the first things you think?
some things I think when people say get over it, sometimes it just puts more stress because you keep hearing that word and word, and you're just like, you're telling me to get over it when I have to deal with this, and sometimes I
Yeah.
don't even know where to start, how to do it, and it just puts more stress. But at the same time, you tell yourself, I know I'm gonna finish this. I know I am. And then when you finish it, you're gonna think back, oh, I finished it. I don't know why I was so afraid.
Mm, hmm. Thank you so much. Yeah, I really like how you said, back to that person, if they say get over it, that doesn't really help you deal with anything in the moment, even though you have to tell yourself, okay, I do have to get through this. It's just they might not be the most helpful voice, kind of like what Mr. S was saying. You want to go to people who are going to help you, be supportive of you to get through something and not get over it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm on the flip side. I'm gonna toss this over to you guys after I kind of share my experience. But on the flip side, if you actually do avoid stress and anxiety, what types of things uh, might you tackle or have to tackle? And I think for me in college, not to scare you, Angel, because you're literally right around the corner of going to college, but those deadlines become something else in college. And you have your own schedule. You pick classes that happen either in the morning or in the afternoon or mixture, or maybe you put them all on the same days throughout the entire day. I typically preferred night classes when I was in college. And there are times when I was like, I can't make that deadline. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'd have anxiety attacks. And that was probably the worst experience, at least in college, when it comes to avoiding stress and anxiety. And like anxiety attacks for me was having a hard time, literally having a hard time breathing. I like it literally felt like I had a boulder on top of my chest and I couldn't breathe. And it got so bad in some cases where I was so stressed out that I actually passed out. Yeah. So, and what's worse, at least in one situation, I was actually driving when I had an anxiety attack. I was so stressed out and I knew something was wrong. I had never experienced it before, at least at that incident. And I pulled my car over. And as soon as I got out of my car, I passed out. And
Oh.
so I was in a parking lot. I woke up and I was like, my door was open, my car was on, and I didn't know what to do. So luckily, I got treatment from an ER shortly after that. But it could be really bad where you're like, you don't know how to deal with it. So
Mhm.
um, avoiding stress and anxiety can get pretty severe. It's not going to, everyone has their own experiences, but that's what could happen. And I think I had a hard time trying to deal with it and face it up front and being okay to reach out. I was always afraid. I grew up like thinking, I don't want to burden anybody. I don't want to, take anybody away or make them worry about me and whatnot. And I think although I was trying to have my best intentions, it didn't play out safely for me. And obviously, a lot of other people that care about me were very worried
Mhm.
after the fact. So I'm curious, Angel. Let's go with you first. What I mean, if you were to avoid it, what could happen?
If you try to avoid it, I think there could be both pros and cons. Like you're avoiding, like if you're avoiding doing your homework for all the stress, like you don't want to do stress. I think the cons of that is, yeah, you're putting more workload into your backpack, so you're putting more weight, but also like, yeah, it could be a good thing because you're not stressing too much about it, but also like for me, once I start overthinking about stuff, like it gets to me, and like it's like what I do, like at that point it gets to the point that like I can't stop thinking about it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I had to do this, and like I can't take breaks even though I know I have the time, but it's like getting to me at the point like I can't like think about it, so it's like just making things worse.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and that it seems like you end up with a mountain of things to catch up on. So, I mean, if that is the case, like it's okay to take it slowly, one assignment at a time. And um, I think maybe Miss Laura was kind of implying it earlier too. Like, how do you prioritize which assignments or which tasks to take care of? Obviously, everyone's gonna assess which one's the most important and take it one by one. So we really appreciate you sharing that, Angel. What about you, Adrian?
When it's like my brother's example I used was with homework, you're putting so much work on the side and you're like, you feel better. You're just like, oh, yes, I don't have to do this right now. But when time comes, when it matters most, you're going
Mhm.
to have to do it. And it's going to be so many assignments. And
Yeah.
And the cons that could happen is being held back, and knowing you're gonna have to repeat that year doing the same work. So might as well get it done now, so nothing bad can happen. Because at one point in your life, you're gonna have to face it. So might as well get it done for you can have some experience on how to do it.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You bring up time. That's another factor as well. Like, how much time are you going to put aside to, not think about it? And then is it too late later on? And did you wait too long to actually take care of business? And man, adult life is real. If you're paying bills, especially, I can tell you guys both, maybe you help your parents already, but man, you don't meet deadlines and you get late fees and fines and stuff like that. You actually end up paying more without taking care of it by that deadline. So in a way, I mean, those are things that you guys are learning during your education as well about real life, not only as students, but also as adults. So yeah, we really appreciate both of those thoughts.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate both of the things that you both shared, Angel and Adrian. What I think I heard was this balance of avoidance versus taking a break. It's like if I can take a break and it's 5 minutes and watch, a YouTube video, that's great. If you watch 5 movies in a row when you have homework to do, well, then that's avoidance. And so, how do you balance the difference between taking a much needed, well deserved break when you know you have a lot of stuff to do? Is that there is a difference. Avoidance is coming up with a lot of feelings. It's like I'm feeling guilty, stressed, upset, even frustrated at my teachers for giving me this much work. Avoidance has a lot of feelings involved, whereas taking a break is more of the slowing down, trying to stay in control as much as you can, and taking very intentional time to balance everything. I think avoidance is something that we tend to do because we just don't want to face whatever feelings come up for us. I think avoiding even taking a break, if you're just like, oh, I can't take a break, I can't take a break because if I do, then I'm going to feel like a failure. I'm going to feel bad about myself. I can't take a break because I've got so much to do. We can't, we have to learn how to process those feelings so that we're not stuck with a bunch of a lot of pain and a lot of stuff that's just going to make our lives worse, like the things that we need to do, like Adrian was saying. And so learning how to take a break without avoiding the work that you're doing is a life skill that you boys are definitely, it sounds like you're trying to practice now so that you can learn how to do them even better in college or when you're adults like me and Mr. S.
I can't believe how old I am. You brought up age in some sense, but I know you guys are laughing too. Yeah, I've known you guys for quite some time now, but yes, Mr. S is only going to get older. But I mean, those are the challenges in life. We tackle them one at a time. We try our best if we can do it ourselves, or again, seeking out support. And I think for students, including adults too, because I didn't tell you guys, but I'm actually back in school now. So sometimes it's really tough when it comes to our mental health, or maybe it's like physically, or something is happening in our lives outside of those factors. It's okay to reach out. And sometimes, I mean, it's not the best habit, because if it's repeating itself over and over again, that's not a good habit. But asking for extensions or modifications or adjustments to assignments or certain situations, I think that's okay. Sometimes we get afraid. I remember, especially back from my undergraduate degree, asking my professor for like an extension or if I can make up an assignment was nerve-wracking, because some of the professors I had were very hardcore in terms of like just talking to them. They're very aggressive people, I assumed, and whatnot. But it's okay to professionally and politely request those types of things via email or in person back then. So I think those are things that are doable. It can be very scary, but it's very doable, especially given the circumstances around the pandemic. And even without the circumstances of the pandemic, I think it's a good practice to just be honest with yourself and then be honest with those that are trying to support you.
Yeah, if we could wrap up that thought, is that something I would encourage people never to avoid: never avoid asking for help. It does not hurt to ask someone for help, because you never know if they're going to say, yes, I'll give you an extension. Or even if it's uncomfortable and you're like, I'm going to ask for help and they might reject me, ask anyways, because that feeling of discomfort, of feeling rejected, you'll get through it. That won't even matter in a week, but asking for help is so important. And so I'd like to know, Angel and Adrian, who is one person each of you can reach out for help to when you are feeling stressed about school?
That's a kind of tough question
Mhm.
because for me, I know I could reach out to a lot of like people for help. For example, I can reach out to Mr. S. Like
Mhm.
I have his number, I have his email, and I know that I'm one call or one text like away from just asking for help. I also have a lot of teachers that I'm really close with that I know that they could help me a lot. So it's kind of like hard just choosing one person
That's a
because
good problem. That's
yeah,
a good problem to have. You can't just choose one person. Okay,
yeah.
awesome. Adrian?
For me, mostly I can ask my friends because I know them closely, and we've had a lot of experiences that we also had to deal with asking for help. And I know from we all ask each other for help, and we know not to be shy about it
Mhm.
because they also deal with problems, so they can help you with it, and you know you're not going to be alone because they have your back.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you both.
Yeah, those are great points. And I think what makes me think of what you said, Adrian, we don't know everyone's circumstances. This is a very peculiar situation where we only get like virtual settings to be able to see them, or like socially distance. And even then, it's not like we see the normal people we used to see on a daily basis or like a weekly or monthly basis in person. If anything, it's just a few that we see from afar. So we can't, obviously, we can't read each other's brains, so we don't know what's going on in terms of if our friends or family or even our teachers are actually avoiding stress and anxiety themselves. But I'm curious, like, when you notice someone that might be in trouble, what can be some things that you can do to help them, not avoid stress and anxiety for others other than yourself?
I think like when I know someone that's like dealing with something like with stress, like I think at least one thing I could do is like reach out to them and like tell them you're not alone. Like I'm dealing with it too. Like we could talk about this and like we could like communicate when we're feeling stressed about a work. Like we could just text and be like, oh, like how did you do this? So I don't have to like think about like how am I gonna do a work. So just like try to communicate with other people is the best thing in my opinion, because they know that you have their back and that they know they're gonna also know that you're also dealing with the same stuff, so they're not alone.
When I see someone that needs help, I you most likely know that they're dealing with stuff because a very important part of it is communication. If a person doesn't communicate with another person that they trust, a lot of emotions get locked in, and sometimes you just burst it out and start that's like yelling at other people when you know it's the stress causing it. And talking to someone really helps it because you know that that person you can trust, you know that you can tell them the problems and they can help you.
So the last question I have before we end, because you guys are brothers and within the same family in the same place, what recommendations do you guys have for each other when it
Mhm.
comes to stress and anxiety with each other? Because I'm the oldest of three kids, and I remember growing up, even as adults, sometimes being in the same house is very hard. And my mom can be overbearing at sometimes, and she still calls me to. I mean, obviously, she doesn't call me Mr. S, but she's always nagging me. Did you brush your teeth? Are you saving
Oh
money?
my God.
Are you dating someone? When are you going to get married? When are you going to have kids? Mom, chill out. Give me space. So I'm curious, what do you guys have for recommendations in terms of maybe stressing within the family? Because you guys are kind of, a lot of us are stuck at home together.
Yeah, like something that like I do since like we live in a small place, so we're always with each other. like sit next to each other when we're doing work, and I know we both get stressed at like different parts, but like when we stress each other out, like something that I do is just like try to like do things that I like. Since we both like different stuff, like I could just, yeah, we both like the same stuff, but I know like I like different things than he does. So just focus on something that I could do by myself to try to like calm down and not like look at him or like talk to him and to make things worse. So try to like
Mm.
first calm down and like think over what am I gonna say next? Like how am I gonna say it? Like if I talk to him, am I gonna like get mad quick, or am I gonna like start just getting mad out of nowhere? So just that's what I do.
When we have like disagreements, sometimes we also have things in common, so we can start talking about the things we have in common, so it just passes through, because in every person's life you're always going to have problems. It's part of it, and you'll know you'll get through it. So we know that we're just gonna get over it, just continue talking. So
Yeah, you're all stuck together. You have this unbreakable family bond, and no matter what you go through, like a pandemic or anything over the last year, or for, whatever's happened in your lives and your family, you guys can go through together. So, and I appreciate the giving as much space as possible, just because, yes, you do live maybe very close together and it's hard to get out. And so, even taking a walk can help reduce stress from any kind. So, I appreciate that. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us both. I've really appreciated your insights. Very wonderful, respectful answers that I think are the rest of our students and our families are going to learn from.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
we always leave with a note that, again, just like some of our students have been saying, um, if you need support or help, don't be afraid, and don't avoid seeking help out in any way. A lot of us obviously feel like we're in a corner, but we're by ourselves. We can't handle it, but there's always support, whether through our teachers, our counselor, Miss Lar, or outside resources. So please make sure to reach out. Again, we thank you for joining us, Angel and Adrian. Hopefully you guys stay safe. It's been windy and raining like crazy
Yeah.
the past day or two, so stay safe out there, as well with the pandemic. We definitely miss our students and our families, but yeah, like you guys said, we're in it together.
yeah, and thank you
thank
for
you.
having us here. It makes me happy knowing that I could share out like my thoughts about like try to help people out to avoiding stress. So like hopefully like what my thoughts like help out other people. So
They will. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you both.
you're
Take
welcome.
care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.